From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not for Wednesday, January 21st. We already have a couple of snow showers in north central, northeastern South Dakota during the morning hours. These will continue to slide to the east and southeast as we do go through the day. And you can see that on Futurecast. Snowfall amounts, I would say a lot of us staying less than an inch. It's the wind that will cause a lot of the problems for today, as winds will increase from west to east as we do go through the morning and into the afternoon. And keep that in mind with the new snow that we had yesterday, the falling snow that we'll have with periods of snow in our forecast today as the winds come in, causing blowing snow, causing reduced visibilities, and also some travel issues too for not only this morning, but even lasting into the afternoon and early evening. As we go through the evening, I think these winds will start to die down. For tomorrow, the winds will not be as strong, but with a northwest wind coming in 15 to 30 miles per hour, that will help bring in the colder air. Temperatures will slowly fall. I think as we go through the morning hours into the afternoon, expect falling temperatures. In fact, when we get to the wind chill numbers for Thursday, those numbers will be colder in the afternoon for the wind chill as compared to the morning because we'll have our falling temperatures during the day. Then high pressure comes in for Friday. Expect temperatures that can be close to record lows for Friday morning. So we're looking at numbers in the teens and 20s below zero, and the afternoon will struggle to get above zero. In fact, we do have many locations Friday afternoon in not only eastern KELOLAND staying below zero, but we could still have below zero highs in central South Dakota. Here's a snapshot of our wind gusts at midday, and you can see by midday the front will be through much of KELOLAND, strong northwest winds. This particular model suggesting wind gusts 40, 50 miles per hour and more. You see that wind in Custer getting close to 60. We have wind gusts there from Parker, Rock Valley, areas to the south in the low to middle 50s. So we will have strong winds late this morning and into the afternoon. Temperatures today will reach the 20s and 30s for afternoon highs. We'll continue to follow the snow as it comes in from the northwest. Tonight, temperatures will fall to the single digits, lower teens across western South Dakota. And the numbers in the forecast for tomorrow, it's just a placeholder. Sure, they may change a couple of degrees, but I really expect a lot of these numbers in central and eastern KELOLAND to remain steady or slowly fall as we do go through the day tomorrow. And we do have a winter weather advisory in place for today. This covers central, eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. And that's because of the wind and the snow, areas of blowing snow. And that's a topic that we'll discuss coming up in the next weather segment, as well as the cold air that's coming in and these wind chills. I'll show you those values coming up in a little bit. And we'll talk about the weather pattern. How long does this cold air last? Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Windy conditions again today. That will combine with the snow showers that will move from north central South Dakota into eastern and southeastern KELOLAND for the morning and afternoon. Now, here's a look at our current snow depth. This is just showing where we do have areas of snow on the ground. Of course, we have that fresh snowpack from yesterday, adding to things, loose snow that the winds will be able to pick up and blow that around a little bit. In fact, our blowing snow product showing that across, northwestern South Dakota, central, eastern, and southeastern KELOLAND. Can expect areas of blowing snow today once those winds do start to pick up. And that will happen during the late morning hours and early afternoon when everybody should have that strong northwest wind. And that's the reason why we do have winter weather advisories in central, eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and northwestern Iowa for snow and blowing snow. Been mentioning the reduced visibilities that will come along with everything, with those new snow showers that are falling and the loose snow that the winds are able to pick up. This is midday with our wind gusts coming in from the northwest, anywhere from 50 to 60 miles per hour for some of us. Notice that we do have those wind gusts, 50 to 60 for the southern hills, gusts across south central to southeastern KELOLAND by the midday hour. This particular model suggesting that wind gusts will be over 50 miles per hour. Then these winds will slowly, and I mean slowly, start to taper down as we do go through the afternoon hours. And here's a look at 6 o'clock this evening, still with northwest winds, still with some of these gusts over 30 in north central, eastern, southeastern KELOLAND, as well as the hills of western South Dakota. Then as we get beyond 6 o'clock, I think these winds will continue to slow down as we go through the late evening hours and for the overnight. Here's another look at things for Rapid City. Notice those wind gusts, 60 miles per hour and more as we go through the morning hours. And then for the afternoon, they slowly start to taper down. During the overnight hours, again, these are wind gusts. During the overnight, we'll probably have light winds. And then notice how they do slowly come back for tomorrow. Some of those wind gusts may approach 40. And that will help bring in the cooler, colder air. This is Sioux Falls. So it's during the afternoon. These winds will peak probably low to middle 50s for our wind gusts and then slow down as we go into the late afternoon, early evening. We'll have relatively light winds tonight, and then we'll watch these winds pick up slowly for tomorrow. We'll go with a northwest wind, 15, 25 miles per hour. Some of those gusts will be approaching 30 miles per hour. And again, for tomorrow, temperatures will be slowly falling as we go through the day tomorrow. So still expect these strong winds for everybody as we've been looking at that momentum transfer over the past several days. That's something that I shared with you throughout the week. And even last week, I think we showed you that momentum transfer. This is just, I won't know if you want to call it a highlight or not, but here's a look at some of our peak wind gusts as I broke this down for our 4 forecast cities. The strongest wind will be felt across western South Dakota. Some of those wind gusts coming in over 60. We'll go 55 to 60 miles per hour for wind gusts late this morning, early afternoon in central KELOLAND. 45 to 50 for northeastern South Dakota. And then during the afternoon hours, maybe around midday, we could see those wind gusts in and around Sioux Falls of 50 to 55 miles per hour. So any way you look at it, everybody should have strong winds. Been mentioning that the strong wind will help bring in much colder air as temperatures will fall as we do go through the day tomorrow. And those wind chill numbers, I mentioned this before. I'll show you those numbers coming up in the next weather segment and be joined by Brian Karstens. That those wind chill values for Thursday, for tomorrow, probably colder in the afternoon as compared to what's expected in the morning. In the morning, I think we'll have wind chills probably in the minus teens and the minus 20s. We'll talk more about that coming up in the next weather segment. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not, and I am now joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens. And Brian, we've been talking about this cold air, and along with it, we'll have to watch for dangerous wind chills. Even during the day tomorrow, the air temperature, the wind chill, will continue to fall during the day, eventually leading to what? Maybe areas of minus 40 on Friday morning?
Yeah, it's always this thing that we go through. It seems like it happens at least once in the winter, you know, that we have to get down to this level of cold. And so it's dangerous when you talk about exposure to your skin and the frostbite issues. You can get frostbite when you've got a wind chill minus 35 or lower. It's literally less than 10 minutes, and you are going to have trouble. So that's why we always say have this winter survival kit in your car. If you have car trouble and those kind of things, just being safe this time of year. And obviously, too, is school announcements likely on Friday because, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, when it gets down to that level, most of the time in the past, if that speaks for this particular situation, probably not going to have school in like going to school. Now, virtual school, these days, that's a thing too. So districts will handle that dependent on, which part of KELOLAND we're dealing with on Friday. But even Sioux Falls, under this extreme cold watch, probably gets upgraded to a warning unless something dramatically changes.
And we're looking at afternoon temperatures that will stay below zero, not only in eastern KELOLAND, but we could have below zero highs in central South Dakota on Friday.
Yeah, it's mean to talk about cold weather like this, but extreme cold watch in effect. And again, that's large part of eastern KELOLAND, some of our folks in the west, and looking out at, into western Minnesota, northwest Iowa too. It goes all the way. You really want to see the depth of this thing. Look at that. I mean, we're talking Wisconsin. Oh, and the warnings are out, too, on the Canadian border. Just for a few folks that like to ice fish up there.
Yeah.
Travis Fossing's going by here in the background.
Yes, a trip to go ice fishing in northern Minnesota.
Oh, my goodness. Look at this. By the way, I wanted to bring this up, too, Scott. We'll talk more in the next segment. Look at these winter storm watches. Dallas, Texas. I mean, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, we're going to have, there's going to be a lot of weather going on. But again, that's a separate story, in and of itself. But back to this wind chill problem, too. Let me bring up my next graphic here. I've got the wind chill forecast. So the numbers, this is starting, of course, getting into this evening and tonight. We already have some wind chills initially, but let's be honest here, too. The worst of it is Friday morning. That's rough. Minus 37 Sioux Falls, minus 41 Watertown. All of it sounds bad.
Yeah, and that's the warning criteria there. Once you get, colder than minus 35, I think is the criteria for the one. I'll have an outlook on that coming up, too.
Exactly. And then during the day, I mean, you just don't get that recovery, and that makes it very tough. So then you got to endure Saturday morning. Okay, and you're going to talk about air temperatures here in a second, but, there's a wind chill forecast, minus 27 Sioux Falls. Saturday afternoon, does it improve? Well, if it does, even if it technically gets above zero, maybe it does on Saturday, the feels like will be well below zero. That's not going to change. Sunday morning is a shoe-in to feel cold. Again, I don't like some of those numbers up around Sisseton. That's rough again. And then Sunday afternoon, we've been kind of going back and forth. Our official high is 10. New data, Scott?
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know if we can make 10.
Should we? Here's a sneak peek. Okay, this is some of the latest data coming in from earlier this morning during KELOLAND this morning. And you were bringing this up, too, behind the scenes, how it just keeps that temperature below zero for highs Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
There's a 10 on Monday.
Yeah, that's a rough patch. That's basically starting below zero Thursday evening in Sioux Falls.
As temperatures fall during the day.
Yep. And it's possible that we could stay below zero all the way till Monday morning. But, that's a big deal. If you actually stay below zero for that long a time period, it really kind of depends, too, on this snow action today. I historically kind of go back to snow cover on a deal like this. If you have deeper snow, it would be easier to argue for that. This time around, we don't have a lot on the ground, so sometimes we end up, getting maybe 2 degrees, technicality there.
Well, and I'm curious, too, on how it behaves with the wind. With the wind gusts today, getting to that 55 mile per hour range in and around Sioux Falls. I know we came in officially just shy of an inch at 0.9 officially for snowfall yesterday.
Right.
We can get some snow showers today. If you walked outside this morning, saw the snow, everything's covered with white.
Yeah, but will it look like that later?
Exactly, because of the wind. Is wind going to pick up this loose snow and blow it around?
Yeah.
That you'll see a lot of bare ground again?
I think you're right, yeah. So, again, those are some smaller things. It would be impressive, though, if it did stay below zero that long with this little amount of snow on the ground. That'd be pretty challenging. So, at any rate, it's all going to feel cold. There's no doubt about it in the forecast.
Right, and I should mention, too, not all the models are suggesting what this one is showing with these temperatures being below zero, okay, for 3 days. So we'll follow that.
I don't like those lows either, by the way.
You had to mention.
Look at how many of those were teens below
They're
zero.
all 1, 2. Well, you could even count that 11 below. We'll count that as a lower teen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the we have 6.
Boy, that's tough on car batteries.
Oh, yeah, don't.
I mean, if it's 5 below, okay. But boy, once you start a vehicle when it's 15 below or 20 below, that's a different league. It always is. I cringe when and I'm sure many of you are not looking forward to that either. So, but you're talking some near records, maybe in the territory there?
Yeah, within 5 degrees I think I have 5 cities eventually showing up where we can be, with the forecast that's going on right now, within 5 degrees of tying or setting record low temperatures for January 23rd, which is Friday morning. You see the existing records. We do have a couple of areas in the teens below, such as Chamberlain at 17 below, Worthington 19 below. The record in Sioux Falls is 23 below. I think our forecast temperature now is 22 below Sioux Falls?
It is, and it's always tricky because in town, the middle of town, probably warmer than that. It's just a matter of what's going on in the Big Sioux River Valley and if we drain at the airport. But it's conceivable, and if we're not quite there, we'll be close again the following night too.
And there's that list with cities within 5 degrees of tying a record: Worthington, Sioux Falls, Chamberlain, Huron, and Pierre. In fact, I think Worthington can tie the record with the forecast at 19 below.
That surprises me that is holding at 19 below for a record there.
You know, when you look at the records for January, I think this is, quote unquote, one of the warmest record lows that we have.
So it's one of the easier pickoffs.
In fact, let me see if I can go ahead and bring that up just to show you what I mean. I'll just have to bring up
because some of these are brutal in January historically.
Right. I was surprised to see it was, dare I say that, warm for a low, a record low. Okay,
yeah, I would agree with that, but it's all bad. But yeah, even in the big scheme of things, you look at, historic cold in South Dakota in this area. I know February actually still holds the worst.
At 40 below or 42 below?
Yeah. There's even a minus 58 in the books in McIntosh, South Dakota. Long time ago, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Here's a look at the record low, or just the climate data here for Sioux Falls in January. I highlighted the 23rd. There's that 23 below. On the 22nd, it's 28 below. On the 24th, it's 32 below.
Yeah. Yeah, most of those are, 32 below. Boy, that was in 1904. That's been a few years ago. 1970 was rough, though. Look at that one.
In fact, just looking at some of these numbers, so it's 23 below for the 23rd. There's a 24 below. Is this the warmest? 24 below. It is. Isn't that something?
Wow.
It's the warmest record low temperature in January. So like I said, this one is one of the easier ones to probably...
you are correct there, Scott.
Try to pick off. So I found that to be rather interesting. So
can we go to the other side where the record highs? I like those numbers a lot better.
50s and 60s?
Remember those days?
Oh, yeah. Look at that. 2003, 56, 57.
I remember that one in 03 because I ate ice cream that afternoon. I remember that, January 7th, 2003. Well, 2012, I was at the zoo, January 10th and 11th. I remember that.
Well, here's one just 4 years ago.
Yes, 2022 was warm, 52 degrees.
Something that, okay, now just go on the other side. The record low for the high temperature for Friday the 23rd is 15 below. Now, we are forecasting numbers to stay below zero.
Okay, that's a good point to bring up because I see the 22nd of January, the low maximum there is a -3.
Isn't that funny? It's almost it's going the opposite of what we just talked about with the lows.
Yeah, interesting too. Yeah, a lot of numbers there, Scott, but interesting perspective. I always like to, I think that gives it another dimension, doesn't it? When we talk about cold and people like to say, well, it's not so bad. Well, I guess you just compare numbers and, we're definitely in some territory here, aren't we?
Yeah, and going back to those numbers, we're already below for our temperatures of what we had the first half of the month, obviously. We're only, 4 or 5 days in.
Yeah.
So I do have that going in my notebook of information, if you will.
Your weather diary.
Yeah, a lot
official
of notes.
Scott Mundt weather diary.
And then once I get through all 70 pages of that notebook, I'll go back and say, do I need to keep any of these? No, it's going in the trash, and I'll just redo it. when the time comes.
You're so organized.
Well,
That's great.
Organized maybe on paper.
We
But
got to
not
have organized people in this organization. That's for sure. You're definitely one of
thanks.
them.
Just to go over a couple of the cold weather headlines, because we do expect to see these probably issued on Thursday, lasting through Friday. Cold weather advisories with those wind chill values, -25 and colder. Frostbite can set in within 30 minutes. And the extreme cold warning with those wind chill values, -35 and colder. Brian, you mentioned frostbite can set in less than 10 minutes.
Yep. And check your pets.
Yes.
Check your pets. You know, it gets a little tough on them. The ones that are, indoors a lot, and then they got to go outside. But, and in general, I mean, this just applies to anything. You think about cold and
people, too.
Yep. Absolutely.
people.
Check on your neighbors. And, we'll do the best we can. We don't have a choice, do we?
No, we don't. We'll get through it, and we'll talk about our weather pattern coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Brian, we're going right into your graphic. We have a little less than 2 minutes.
Okay, so here we go. We've got this particular low. There it is. That is a daughter vortice of the polar vortex. I think I could convince most people of that. This is a debate. We get into all these things. Is it the polar vortex? Well, it is essentially a piece of that. There it is. So there's the heart of the cold, and not friendly to us at all. So we talked about that. Also, this is going to generate a tremendous amount of noise in the pattern south of us. Lots of snow, lots of ice in the deep south. So I guess you can consider ourselves in pretty good shape compared to that. We don't have to mess with that, but we have the bitter cold. Do we warm up next week, Scott? Maybe, but it's kind of a slow evolution of the pattern.
It's a slow warm-up, right? Because cold air moves like
Molasses.
Yeah, I'm not overly sold on warm temperatures returning anytime soon. I think a lot of these days will end up being below average. We'll see what happens today. We are forecasting a number that will be above average. Climate temperature for an average high is 27. So we are looking at temperature forecast high of 30. But then in comes the cold, and it stays. And then we'll see what happens as we get into February. You may remember, if you watched yesterday, these temperatures out here, the model was suggesting temperatures in the lower 50s. Well, that's changed by a good 15 degrees or more.
Yeah.
Temperatures now in the low to middle 30s, but it still points to beginning of February to bring in that warmer air.
30 will seem balmy, won't it?
It will seem great after what's
Absolutely.
coming. Well, thank you for joining us on this latest edition of A Weather or Not. Stay warm.